In 2018, the European Commission hit Google with a €4.34 billion fine. At the time, it was the largest antitrust fine in history. The official reason was that Google was using its Android operating system to illegally cement the dominance of its search engine. But a huge reason for that penalty came from complaints filed by a small Portuguese company most people have never heard of, Aptoide. For years, they had been telling anyone who would listen that Google wasn't just competing, it was actively trying to eliminate them. This fine was their validation. This is the story of the most controversial app store you've probably never used. It's a story about a company that picked a fight with a trillion-dollar giant, survived a devastating security failure, and helped expose the hidden rules that govern the phone in your pocket. So, what exactly is Aptoide? To understand that, you have to understand the system it was designed to break. When you download an app on your Android phone, you go to the Google Play Store. It's a single, centralized marketplace curated and controlled entirely by Google. Aptoide's founders saw this as a problem. Back in 2009, they were inspired by the way software was managed on the Linux operating system. On Linux, you can pull software from many different sources, or repositories. It's a decentralized system. They decided to apply that same idea to Android apps. Instead of one giant store, Aptoide is a marketplace of stores. Any user or developer can create their own repository and upload apps to it. It's a radically open philosophy, and it was a direct attack on Google's model. It put developer freedom and user choice ahead of a single curated experience. This different philosophy put them on a collision course with Google. But the conflict isn't just about ideas, it's about money. A lot of money. Specifically, the 30% commission that Google and Apple take from app sales and in-app purchases. That 30% figure wasn't invented for the mobile age. Its roots go back to the 1980s console gaming industry, specifically Nintendo's Famicom. Nintendo created a completely closed system. To sell a game on their console, you had to use their proprietary cartridges and pay them a hefty cut. The 30% commission is a legacy of that business model. It was never a market rate for surfaces in an open ecosystem. It was a gatekeeper's fee in a closed one. This model is what's known as a walled garden. Both Google and Apple built their platforms to control everything: the hardware, the operating system, and the App Store. This architecture allows them to dictate the terms for millions of developers and lock out competitors. Aptoide was designed to be a crack in that wall, and Google noticed. In a 2018 antitrust complaint, Aptoide laid out its case. They claimed Google's own security software PlayProtect wasn't just warning users about their app, it was actively blocking it. An Android user might download Aptoide, see a security warning, and choose to keep the app anyway, but later, PlayProtect would allegedly prevent Aptoide from installing other apps, making it useless. This wasn't just a passive warning. Aptoide argued it was system-level sabotage of a competing app store, disguised as a security feature. The fight went to court in Portugal, and in a landmark ruling, the court sided with Aptoide. It issued an order telling Google to stop PlayProtect from blocking and removing the Aptoide app from users' devices. Aptoide CEO called it a signal to startups worldwide. If you have the reason on your side, don't fear to challenge Google. It was a clear legal victory. They had proof that Google was using its safety measures to crush a competitor. But here's where the story gets messy. Because while Aptoide was fighting for freedom, its open model created serious problems. Google's claim that alternative app stores were dangerous wasn't entirely wrong. One developer posted a detailed public complaint. They found a pirated version of their paid app on Aptoide that had been downloaded at least 14,000 times. That represented a potential loss of over $40,000. But it got worse. They found a second app impersonating theirs. It used their name and icon, but it was actually malware. When they analyzed the file, they found a hidden, password-protected zip file disguised as a simple image. This file was designed to be extracted on a user's device, where it would install a new malicious program called playmarketupdate.apk. This wasn't a theoretical risk. It was real developer losing real money and users being exposed to actual malware. The developer also complained that Aptoide's team was slow to take down the malicious app, highlighting just how hard it is to police a decentralized platform. Then came the catastrophe. In April 2020, Aptoide suffered a massive data breach. The personal information of 20 million user accounts was stolen and posted on a hacking forum. The data included email addresses, names, and IP addresses. It also included passwords. The critical failure was a technical one. The passwords were not properly secured. They were stored as simple, unsalted SHA-1 hashes. Using unsalted hashes was already considered a dangerously obsolete practice for years before the breach. It meant that the stolen passwords were far easier to crack, putting users' accounts on other sites at risk if they reused passwords. This was a devastating blow. Aptoide had built its reputation on being a secure alternative to Google Play. This breach and the negligence it revealed provided powerful ammunition for anyone who claimed these alternative app stores were just too risky. This brings us to the core of the conflict. Both Google and Aptoide say one thing, but their actions often reveal something entirely different. Google presents itself as a guardian of the ecosystem. It talks about user safety and developer success. When it introduced a lower 15% commission for the first $1 million a developer earns, it said the program was meant to help boost developer success. The reality is that the program is bureaucratically complex. To get that lower rate, developers have to enroll, create account groups, and list every single associated developer account they have. It's a process that can be a headache for small independent developers, the very people the program is supposed to help. And then there's Google's legal record. The EU's €4.34 billion fine was for illegal tying, forcing phone manufacturers to pre-install Google apps if they wanted access to the Play Store. That action directly contradicts any claim of fostering a free and open ecosystem. The Portuguese court ruling showed that its commitment to user safety could be used as a convenient pretext for blocking a rival. Aptoide isn't immune to this either. It markets itself as a completely safe app store, claiming to have one of the best malware detection systems in the ecosystem. It talks about community and empowerment. But the reality is that its platform has hosted pirated apps and malware. And its most critical security failure, the 2020 data breach, was a direct result of its own poor practices. The open, decentralized model that Aptoide champions is the very thing that creates vulnerabilities for malicious actors to exploit. So you have Google, which uses safety as a shield for anti-competitive behavior, and you have Aptoide, which uses freedom as a shield for its own security shortcomings. The story isn't about a simple hero and villain. It's about two companies whose public narratives are at war with their documented actions. For years, this looked like a niche fight, a small Portuguese company against a global giant. But the arguments Aptoide was making started to go mainstream. In 2020, Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, launched Project Liberty. They sued both Apple and Google, challenging their 30% commissions and their bans on alternative app stores and payment systems. Epic was fighting the exact same battle Aptoide had been fighting for years, just on a much larger scale. In December 2023, a jury delivered a unanimous verdict in the case against Google. They found that Google had engaged in anti-competitive and monopolistic practices. The court confirmed that Google maintained its monopoly through restrictive deals with partners. The verdict was a massive vindication for Epic, and by extension for Aptoide. The David versus Goliath narrative was no longer an exaggeration, it was a matter of legal record. The pressure wasn't just coming from courtrooms, it was coming from governments. The European Union passed the Digital Markets Act, or DMA. This law is specifically designed to stop large online platforms, or gatekeepers, from abusing their market power. The DMA legally forces companies like Apple and Google to allow alternative app stores and third-party payment systems on their platforms. The very things Aptoide had been demanding for over a decade are now becoming law across Europe. Their lonely fight helped build the mountain of evidence that led to a tectonic shift in digital policy. So this whole debate comes down to two opposing views of the world. The challengers, like Aptoide and Epic, argue for an open market. They believe the 30% commission is an arbitrary tax that stifles innovation. They see the walled garden as an exploitative system that limits choice. For them, a platform should be more like a public utility, regulated for the common good. The gatekeepers, Google and Apple, argue that a closed system is essential for security and quality. They claim the commission is a fair fee for the infrastructure, trust, and massive customer base they provide. They point to malware on third-party stores as proof that an open approach is dangerous. For them, the platform is their private property, and they have the right to set the rules. The reason this is so polarizing is that both sides have a point. Aptoide's platform did host malware, and it did suffer a catastrophic data breach. At the same time, Google's platform was found by courts to be an illegal monopoly. One of the most common arguments against platforms like Aptoide is that they are just havens for piracy and malware. This is a powerful narrative, partly because it contains a grain of truth. We've seen the evidence. But it's also an oversimplification that serves Google's interests. Aptoide does have a multi-layered security system. It uses AI to detect threats, runs multiple antivirus scans, and has a trusted badge to help users identify safe apps. They even point to a study from a Japanese university that they claim ranked them as the safest third-party app store. The inconvenient truth is that the Piracy Haven label is a half-truth that Google has used to its advantage. Aptoide's real security failures gave Google the perfect cover story. It allowed them to frame their anti-competitive actions as a necessary defense of user safety. The story of Aptoide shows that the fight for an open internet is complicated. It's not a clean fight. The company that challenged the monopoly had serious flaws of its own. But despite a massive data breach and a coordinated effort to block it, Aptoide is still around. By 2022, it claimed to have over 430 million users. Its survival is a testament to the demand for an alternative, however imperfect. This was never just about one app store. It's about who gets to write the rules for the digital world. And that fight is far from over.